is about asking questions. And the reason is two reasons. Number one, other people have to be accountable for what they're saying. And you'd also like clarification. What do you mean by that? What does a weirdo look like? Because then the person can hear what they actually mean. And often it's just a reaction, like the where do you get your protein question. But it also gives you time to take a deep breath. And if you can train yourselves to, in the moment when someone says anything, is take a deep breath. Hey, what do you mean by that? And literally then immediately just go inside, slow the breathing down. That doesn't just make us feel relaxed. It actually activates the balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. When we breathe in, our sympathetic nervous system is sympathetic to the fact we're feeling out of sorts, we feel anxious. On the out breath, which is all yogis know, is the parasympathetic says, hey, come on, we need to get back into balance. Just those few moments, if you stay in your head and you're looking for the best words, is breathe and actually say, okay, I'm just going to take stock while that person's reacting. But of course, not all these things happen in the moment. You come away feeling strange. And that's when that self-questioning is what, not why. What does it mean to be a weirdo? What's it like to be criticized or resisted? And I say to vegans have all the normal problems of life: relationships, money, jobs. Why am I on the planet? What am I going to do with my life? Does my partner love me? I can't get on with my mother-in-law. I don't like my nose. And then you just add this huge layer called veganism and the whole picture changes. So it's everybody in the world, we want to be liked, we want to fit, we want to be seen. And so I was looking at a quote earlier, actually, by Catherine Ponder. She wrote the book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And in thinking about this thing about weirdo, it's like a criticism. You're somehow not fitting in. And she says, consider it a compliment that others bother to criticize you. There is doubtless something about you they secretly admire and feel is lacking in themselves. Otherwise, they would not feel the lack keenly enough to resent finding its opposite in you.
That is so good. That is so good.
Wonderful quote.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, the best defense is attack, isn't it? So that criticism is actually, it's more of a reflection of how they're feeling. It's not about you, the person that they're criticizing. It's about them and how they're sitting with whatever actions you're taking.
I think you're absolutely right. And I've used on previous podcasts the word entrainment. And just a quick recap, at the end of the 17th century, there was a clockmaker who set a lot of grandfather clocks in a room with all the pendulums all moving at different levels. And over time, those pendulums they looked as if they were all out of sync with each other. Then all of a sudden, almost it defies the naked eye looking at it, all of a sudden they start to move in the same direction. Now, this is a phenomena that has come to be known as entrainment. It happens in chemistry, biology, physics, society, and families, is that as things are moving in a certain direction, and we're living in a dark time in our history, some people say it's the second sort of dark ages, where we're seeing cruelty and competition and greed, and people have kind of entrained over there. They're not saying it's okay, but they go along and they accept that this is normal. What happens when the vegan comes along? They are starting to set the grandfather pendulum in a different direction and say, no, there's a better way. And there's a lot of resistance because at the moment, most are in training over here. When we reach a critical mass, actually people will come along to this side almost unconsciously. It's quite extraordinary. And in the moment, you see, we're not going with the entrained mass of this is how the world is. We're starting to do something different. And so people will resist that. And as we know, our wonderful friend Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, and then they fight you. And being called a weirdo, resisting, is the fighting stage. Because why would they bother to criticize unless they saw its lack in themselves? And then we win, i.e., people start to entrain a different way and say it was their idea usually.
Yeah,